With the latest news about what's coming to Iceborne, we got some good news. Glavenus is getting a subspecies. However, the bad news is that any chance of the rest of the Fated 4 ever coming back has been greatly decreased as a result. So the question now is there still hope for the Fated 4's return? Although we should just call them the Fated 3 at this point because Glavenus seems to leave them in the dust. Before we try to answer this question, I'd like to give credit to BlessRNG for attending the San Diego Comic-Con panel for this info and Dark Hero Gaming for posting a video about it. I'll leave links in the description for BlessRNG's Twitter and Dark Hero's video if you want the details on the news. Also, quick disclaimer, I do not want this to turn into a controversy or bash this new monster in any way at all. I'm just going to address my concerns and theories for what this could mean for the Fated 4. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. So let's begin with the bad news first, as I am not one to end on a bad note. So this was revealed at the Comic-Con panel in San Diego. It's a new subspecies for Glavenus, known as acidic Glavenus. I'll explain more about it in the good news portion of this video, but for now, let's begin to answer the question, what does this mean for the rest of the Fated 4? As exciting as the subspecies is, it also means Gameth, Astalos, and Mizutsune's chances of being added have decreased significantly. Now, why is that? I can't exactly give a concrete answer, but I can theorize and speculate here. I believe that Capcom isn't paying as much attention to the other 3 members of the Fated 4 like they used to. Maybe they never had any plans for them to be in Iceborne in the first place. The fact that they've made a subspecies for Glavenus means that they may have only focused their attention on adding to it instead of including the other 3. Additionally, Glavenus was the only one teased in the trailer prior to its reveal, and it was the only Fated 4 member revealed in the trailer after the fact. And still no sign of the Fated 3. And now we have a subspecies for Glavenus, which is the first and probably the last Fated 4 member to get a subspecies. Comment section be like, Hellblade Glavenus, am I a joke to you? Yeah you are. You're a deviant, not a subspecies. Now believe it or not, this has happened before with the Fated 4. In Monster Hunter Stories, they implemented Glavenus as an obtainable monster in the game, through DLC. However, they never included it as a huntable monster, neither did they add any of the Fated 3 as obtainable monsters. This is the closest example of Capcom doing something like this. Now I do understand that putting the Fated 3 in the game in addition to Glavenus would be a lot of work, but the fact that Glavenus is in without them is odd to me. Now for my opinions on the Fated 3, we have Gameth, who absolutely should be in Iceborne, Astalos, who would be added to vary up the amount of thunder monsters, and Mizutsune, who is the least likely to be added despite being the first Leviathan to be released in an era without underwater mechanics. I still think it should be added. It would be perfect for the Coral Highlands. Yes, I have looked. There are water spots and they do have fish, so at this point, there's no excuse even if it has the Leviathan skeleton. At least it isn't heavily associated with water like Legiacris. Now again, this comes down to the 15th anniversary image. You see all the flagship monsters and Glavenus in front, and once again, none of the Fated 3 are shown. Although if Gormagala was added to Iceborne, that would cause a lot of confusion in the community because adding it would require a story behind the Frenzy virus again, plus they would have to add the other 2 Magalas, but this video isn't about Gormagala. Now many of you watching will probably have questions at this point, like if the Fated 3 will ever be added, and the answer is still unknown to us. Until we see any leaks or reveals of either of them, the chances of them being revealed and confirmed are just about gone. Additionally, having a subspecies added to an already specially treated Glavenus kinda ruins the possibility entirely. So what can we look forward to then? That's where the good news comes in. Now again, this isn't concrete at all, but theory and speculation. The good news is that we have a high possibility for more content, especially endgame content. With the addition of this new and especially well-designed subspecies, we can now expect to have an enjoyable experience whether we have the Fated 4 or not. Now many of you may still be apprehensive about the game, like certain weapon designs being less than ideal, certain skeletons being reused instead of bringing back ones we once loved, Rajang still not being in the game, etc. Now just because we may not be getting the Fated 4 as a result of this new subspecies doesn't mean the game won't be good or the Fated 3 won't be included later. I believe there's still hope for these 3. They may be included in future updates after the game's release. Besides, there's always the possibility of mods, provided there's anyone out there who'd be willing to make a mod for the Fated 4 properly. I will admit I was bummed out when I first saw acidic Glavenus, but I realized we should just focus on the game itself rather than want every single monster to return in the game. Besides, there's always the chance of a new Monster Hunter game for the Switch. Thank you very much for watching. I know this was a bit of a touchy subject, but I had to mention this because I care about the Fated 4 just like all the Fated 4 fans. Let me know in the comments what you think about acidic Glavenus. Also, don't forget to check out the links in the description I mentioned earlier. And with that, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Remember to be kind to one another, and have a most wonderful day.